Hi there. I just want to try and do a video, and I want to talk about spiritual awakening and the importance of spiritual awakening. And the reason it's so important is because awakening, unlike any other spiritual experience, leaves you with a knowing. You know, when you have this experience, these spiritual awakenings, a spiritual awakening leaves you with a knowing that you have experienced this, and it's this knowing, this absolute knowing, that is what leads to more knowledge along the way, because you've really had this experience. If you go on a course, for example, then you're not sure. You're not sure about, if this stuff is real or not, because you're left with doubt. If I tell you something, unless you've actually experienced it, you're going to have doubts about it. But that's the difference between spiritual awakening, and that's why people talk about going from the third dimension to the fifth dimension and beyond it. Because the reason that happens is because the awakening is such a powerful experience that it leaves you with this absolute knowing. You're like, oh my God, what, I've really experienced this. And it gives you this momentum, this amazing momentum. And this momentum has led me to all the stuff I speak about. And there's a big difference between having a belief and having doubt, and then having a knowing, a real experience. It's a different level. And the next question is, well, how do I get a spiritual awakening? Well, it'll happen when you're ready. It's a conscious decision. Don't go thinking that everything's laid out for you and that everything's going to happen for you. When I had this awakening, I had enough. And if I wouldn't have had enough at that moment, I wouldn't have awakened. It's a conscious decision and subconscious decision. You have to listen to your soul. And you're talking about a lot of desire to awaken. It takes a lot of desire. You're talking about an extremely deep situation where you have enough. And this is why a lot of people that awaken have been depressed. I mean, I was very depressed before this awakening. I had lots of crazy anxiety, and one day, like I say all the time, I sat down and I had enough. And I guess that I had to be at that point of having enough to do this. And it was like a within power came through me. But that's the way it is. It's got to come from within you. You see, and anyone can awaken at any moment if they listen to their soul. But humanity has been brainwashed to always seek externally, always seek something, and the world is set up so that there's always something new to chase. There's always some new woman or some new man. There's always some new revolution or some new healer. But people don't acknowledge the real healer, and that is the soul within you. That's it. Another thing I want to say about spiritually awakened people and real healers. The real healers are the ones that spiritually awaken. Why? Because when you awaken, you're now ascending to your divine self. And there is no greater healer than your divine self. That's why I'm saying go within, because that's your soul. That's the greatest healer is within you. And people, when this happens, you stop looking externally. You stop looking for low vibrational relationships, for example. So many people want a partner or a life partner, a lover or something. But these partners that they're looking for are of a low vibration. They're not awakened people, and people like that are not good for you, because we become like whatever we interact with, right? And this is why when I had this awakening also, that you become very protective over your own energy, and you become this divine intelligence, because you've now awakened to what you really are, which is infinity. And so the divine self is intelligence, but it's intelligence within the heart space. And this is already a thing that's out there called heart-based living. And this is what happens. Once you awaken, you realize it's within your heart space that you must go, and you start living from that space. And you have this amazing knowing to things. And there's a big difference in intelligent level between someone who thinks about the problem but then someone who knows the answer. And that's the difference in intelligence, because you're interacting, like I say, with divine intelligence. You're interacting with the divine self, which is all of infinity. And this is why when you wake up, you're tapping into infinite knowledge, because the lid's been lifted and now you're interacting with all of infinity, the real you, which is infinity. And you realize that the self that we experience is merely just a perception within infinity of nothingness. Everything must come from nothing, so an idea that you exist as you claim you exist is an illusion. And it can only ever be a dream. And like I was saying a minute ago, you stop looking. You don't look for low vibrational partners anymore, because you're serving the one thing that no one serves, and that's the soul within. And everyone can awaken now if they acknowledge that. But most people don't. Most people are trying to be better than each other, and they think that this course is going to help them. But remember, the system controls everything at the top. And the only thing it can't control is your soul within. That's the only thing that the system cannot control. It can control all the spiritual courses, it can control all the universities. But do you really think that a system that has controlled people for such a long time is going to have you wake up or awaken or anything to benefit you? No, it's going to be to dumb you down. It's a bit like that Karate Kid movie, when one of the movies in the 80s, when he goes to this karate teacher, but he's making him rubbish. And that's what the system is going to do. Remember, the system is a tiny few compared to all of us, so it's got to mind control you. And like I say, before this awakening, I didn't think like this. I wasn't a conspiracy theorist. But when you wake up and you think, God, me, I am meditation, this is the natural state, you then start asking the question, what was I before then? If this is my natural state now, then what was I before? And what made me like that before? And then you start going down these rabbit holes of realizing that you were actually in this matrix programming that was being programmed into you since birth. Because as soon as you're born, your parents have been programmed, remember? Your school teachers have been programmed. Everything, education, university has been programmed. Everything outward has been programmed. So this is what awakening shows you. Awakening shows you that don't trust out there, only trust what's within here. And so many people have said this for thousands of years, so it must be true then. That if I was an outsider looking at this without having an awakening, I would say, well, if all these people are saying it for thousands of years, then there must be something to it then. And so many spiritual masters have had these experiences. I don't, know much about these people, but I've heard about it, and people have told me that people have said the same things I'm saying. But all I'm doing, all the awakening showed me, was to go within. And that is, but when you're going within, you're going by what you're feeling. Go by your intuition. Look at all as your reflections. Instead of saying, this is my enemy, say to yourself, what is this here to teach me? Feel everything, meditate upon everything. But I'm just going to end it there. Thank you much for watching. Thank you.